Welcome to Shock to the Series. Haha! See you real soon! What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 8 of Shock to the Series, and at the eye of this one, we are looking at Epic Mickey. Mickey Mouse turned 90 years old very recently, and there's no better way to celebrate than by looking at one of his more interesting games. These games were released on the Wii U at Epic Mickey and Epic Mickey 2, The Power of Two. There was rumors of a third game, but unfortunately, Disney's kind of veered away from all that, and I believe the studio was effectively shut down. Which is kind of a shame because these games I didn't play them initially when they first came out, and I still haven't really actually gone and played much of them. I've dabbled a little bit. But they had an element I've really grown to love, which is the choosing between good and evil acts. I mentioned it during Infamous. It also exists in the Batman Telltale series. The Enemy Within being the second one of those, and it's a shame more of those aren't coming out because it looks like Telltale's basically done. But in the Epic Mickey's case, you could paint things and use your paint, and you could create, and you could paint enemies to make them friends and do good things, and your choices would unlock certain paths in the story and certain things, and this was even more prominent, I believe, in 2. And you could also use your thinner, which destroyed things and destroyed enemies and things like that. So, and Mickey's appearance changed a little bit too as you went and did certain things like that. So that was kind of interesting to see. And of course, Epic Mickey 2, the reason it's called Power of Two is because you're controlling you can control Oswald the Lucky Rabbit alongside Mickey, and do certain things with him. And I think these were really interesting because they didn't use a lot of the typical characters. You had Mickey as the main character, and Oswald, who we hadn't seen in practically forever. Pete, you had various forms of Pete in these games, and Pete's one of my all-time favorite characters. Oh, Mickey, why you gotta be like that, pal? It's just your old buddy Pete. But and you had the I want to say they're called Gremlins. That might be wrong. So I apologize in advance. But these little, and I've seen them before. They mess with the plane, in one of the old cartoons, and they're kind of the little helpers and sprites. But they've also kind of got their own problems and their own kind of not so good guys. So it's really interesting. But the thing that really got me when I found out about it was that the final boss of the first game, is the Phantom Blot. And that sounds, I didn't realize how that sounds. It sounds kind of terrible, but I've always loved the Phantom Blot. Back when House of Mouse was still a thing and they were airing episodes, that was the first time I really got introduced to him. And it's just this big blob of ink, but it was menacing, and it was really cool, and it was a villain I attached to. Because a really good villain sometimes is better than a really good hero. And I say that in a lot of cases. I like, villains like Vlad Plasmius from Danny Phantom. I like Darkseid just as a villain, and of course Joker and Lex Luthor, villains like that. So the idea that the Phantom Blot was back, I thought that was really cool. Again, unfortunately, I didn't really play these, and they're kind of hard to find now. I'd have to set up my Wii and everything. And although it was something kind of neat, with the second game, I believe it was the second game, if you ordered the special edition, you had your regular Wiimote, but you also had a nunchuck, but instead of just the basic nunchuck shape, it was a paintbrush. And it glowed green if you were using thinner, I believe, and blue when you were using paint. So that was just a nice little touch. Cosmetic stuff like that is always really cool, and novelty controllers like that I think are a great thing. I've got still from years and years ago. I don't really use it anymore, but I've still got a Mega Man X controller, and let's see here, yeah, cords around it, but it's still in pretty good shape, and I just kind of keep it in the dome now for protection's sake. And I love this dome, and I'm so glad I bought this thing. I'm so glad I've kept track of this thing and kept it fairly well taken care of, if I do say so myself. But yeah, so Epic Mickey certainly wasn't the first Disney series of games. I'm actually going to look into another series next month in December, and one of his older ones. And of course, he and the other Disney characters, Goofy and Donald, Minnie and Daisy, star in Kingdom Hearts. But this was Mickey's own thing, and it was very different. You had, of course, the Yen Sid, who kind of guided Mickey, at least at the start, and played a little bit of a background role. And like I said, there was supposed to be a third game. They actually left it. In the second one, you picked one of two endings, potentially, depending on what you did. And one of those was going to lead into a third game. And it's kind of a shame that we're probably never going to see that. Because I really feel like today it could be very interesting, especially on something like the Switch. If you take if you have one person wielding paint with one Joy-Con and one person wielding thinner with another Joy-Con, or maybe you wield both at the same time for some reason, things like that. And I feel like Disney and Mickey are properties that aren't as well utilized in gaming as they could be. And I know Kingdom Hearts is great, but Mickey appeals to such a wide range of people, and Kingdom Hearts, I think, is a bit more niche in its appeal, just because, yeah, it has all these Disney characters, and that's what draws a lot of people in, but at the same time, the main focus is still on Sora and Kairi and Riku and the organization, all these characters that, I mean, if you're trying to follow the story involves King Mickey and it involves sort of Donald and Goofy who are tagging along Sora, but it's not a Disney story, if that makes any sense at all. So, yeah, that is basically all I have to say on Epic Mickey. But what do you guys think? Post your opinion in the top right. Should we get another Epic Mickey adventure, or should he be left on the drawing board? Next week, as we end November, I am going to take a look at another big mascot character. Not exactly 90 years old, but it's another 2-game series that unfortunately did not get a third. And this character subsequently has had a ton of ups and downs in 3D. And once I post this video, you're going to want to go fast to see it. That is Lights Out on Shock to the Series, Epic Mickey.